Are you recording?
Yeah, I'm recording.
Alright. We're recording.
Alright, welcome to the Young Entrepreneurs Podcast. This is episode number 16. And today we have Steve Leonard, who is the president of the American Bus and Sprinter Company. Steve has built a career in leading transportation solutions, working with a large range of clients, industries, and people to get what they need. And we will today talk about his journey, what he's learned, the businesses, and everything else. So, my first question is, tell us about your backstory and how you got into the transportation industry, if you will.
Well, we started talking about it. So, in college, many years ago, they didn't have the kind of student loan programs they have today. So, you would either second mortgage your home or you had to work or had the money. So, I worked 50, 60 hours a week while I was going to college to pay for school. Parents helped what they could. I worked in gas stations for a couple of years, and then my sophomore year, halfway through, I started driving a shuttle bus on campus. And that was 50, 60 hours a week, and I was doing well with it. I liked it, and I became the student manager of that system, and eventually the first general manager, full-time job, and I did that for a couple of years before going into bus sales, something I thought I'd never do, but I did.
Now, was that part of the plan, or is it
I didn't
a
have
little
a plan.
bit, or?
My plan was to go to the University of Maryland because I had to, because I didn't have another plan. That was basically what I was told. And I went to the University of Maryland as a chemistry major, and both the university and I realized that was not probably the best thing for me. So it took me a year and a half, 3 semesters before getting into transportation, and I actually petitioned the university for my own degree. You sit before a 12-member faculty board to justify why the degree you're creating is necessary when they offer 144, that they want to see why one of those won't work. And anyway, I was successful doing that, so through the individual study program at the University of Maryland.
So it didn't already exist before you came along?
Not. So I had to get a faculty mentor, had to put together the thesis on it, and the coursework that it would be, and so that was my junior and senior year at Maryland. I actually went to an award ceremony last night where the dean and the AD recognized the contributions of my wife and I to that program and to the university athletic department as well. Because giving back to me has always been an important part of what I do.
Now, as I think we kind of talked about before we started, what inspired you to create American Bus and Sprinter, and how did you get into it?
So I went into bus sales in 1981, and I worked in that company and became the vice president. It was time for that owner to move on, and so in 1995, I took the business and its assets and changed it to American Bus Sales and Service at that time. We were just selling school bus bodies that went on somebody else's chassis. As things develop in any industry, you ask me what change. There's always change. There has been constant change in our industry. In 1998, the Freightliner Corporation, which is part at the time of the Daimler-Benz network, purchased Thomas-built buses, and then they had a chassis to go under the body, and now you have a complete unit built by one manufacturer. So in 1998, we became a complete unit dealership, which meant now we had to have engine, transmission knowledge, air conditioning knowledge, which was a little different than what we were just as a bus body provider. And things have progressed from there. And now, through the years, we now have electric buses. So there are a lot of electric school buses. We have sold over 300. I can't say whether that's the answer for the future, but if that's what they're looking for and our technology provides it, then that's what we're going to provide. An electric school bus is about twice the cost of a diesel school bus, but there are some advantages to it operating in an environment where emissions are a concern. There's all kinds of debate about the resources necessary to build an electric school bus. What type of carbon type footprint is there for mining what's needed and putting together, and that's beyond my my concern from the standpoint of business. We have it, our manufacturer provides it, so if someone wants it, we believe we have the best of the electric school buses available in the market today.
Now, how is that? How where you currently are? How is that different from when you started? Meaning having
As the dealership or in bus sales?
a little bit of both.
Well, in bus sales, I was a salesman. That's how it started out. So I would travel around Maryland and Delaware, and I would sell school buses. Half the buses in the state of Maryland are owned by municipalities, and half are owned by private businesses that are under contract with the municipalities. So I would call on both. The municipalities purchase through a bid process, and the contractors purchase through their own decision making. So it's different types of selling. Coming into the business and then owning the business, business ownership isn't for everybody. I hear people say, I want to own my own business. Well, that's great. What does that mean? Are you ready to take on the responsibility? Well, I want to work for myself. Owning your own business, you really aren't working for yourself. If you have employees, you're working for their benefit. If you have creditors, if you have a manufacturer, a product you're representing, you have clients, you're working for all of these. Now, obviously, you can make the decisions you want when you own the business, but you have to take into consideration what it is and the whole package of who's involved in what you're offering as a good or service. You hear the concept that the customer's always right. The customer's not always right. We know the customer's not right. And I explained to our folks, the customer's concerns need to be foremost in our process of thinking, working, and doing. So whether they're right or wrong, their needs need to be our focus, and fulfilling their needs and working through when there are issues. We do it very transparently. So our customer service mindset in this company is that we try to be exceptional in how we take care of things. I see a lot of that advertised, but are people really doing it? How many businesses have you ever been in where you walk up to a counter and somebody's on the computer or on the phone and they don't even acknowledge you?
Oh,
They don't even say, just a minute, I'll be with you in a second. It doesn't take 10 seconds to acknowledge a person. How awkward is it to stand at a counter when somebody's working on their computer and not acknowledging you? It's sad, but it happens. And most people, when I bring this to light, say, oh, it happens all the time. That's basic hospitality. That's basic manners, really. In our company, you won't go through this building without many people acknowledging you're here and seeing if there's anything they can do to get you where you need to go or to help you with what you need. It just makes sense to me. That's business practice 101 in my mind. I think it's not something you have to go to school for. I think it's, maybe I'm different, but it's intuitive to me, and I enjoy businesses, and I've gotten into several other businesses through the years that I enjoy getting to be a part of and trying to make a difference.
Now, is there some things that you have kept the same as in the company, and is there certain things that you've changed that you've noticed either from the original owner or the founder that really worked?
A very significant cultural change, and I won't talk too much about the past because it was an environment that was very positive for employees. So the employees are the heart and soul of what we're doing. They're bringing what we have to offer to the customer, and so we are a very customer-oriented, or very employee-oriented on the backside of the house company. So long before the debate over healthcare, all of our employees have 100% healthcare coverage, whether it be individual, marriage status, or family. It's the right thing. They work for this company, the company has resources, and so it's an expensive proposition to do that, but I think it's the right thing to do. So we try to make sure that our employees are compensated. Every employee in our business is on some sort of a business bonus program based on their business unit, and somehow we figure out quantitatively how they can be bonused for their contribution for their business unit's success. And that's just the way I think it should be done, and it's the way I think it should be done fairly.
Now, do you think that part of that is also not just from you as the service company and also the company as a whole? Or do you think that part of that is also from your the product, meaning Thomas Bus and Daimler, meaning what they carry over and their core values to other companies?
They have a good product. They're a big corporation. They are very financially focused, and so it's a lot of dollar and cents. That's the way they're able to look at their successes, and I understand that. It makes sense because it is quantitative. On a more local basis here with the company, I'm also quality oriented towards the employees' quality of life. People have jobs to benefit their life. So as an employer, I think it's our responsibility to make sure that the job that they're doing is benefiting their life. We don't own them. They would prefer maybe to do something else if they didn't have to make a living, but if they have to, and this is where they work and they like what they're doing, we're going to make sure that it's rewarding for them. It's not happened often. I can think of one time where someone wasn't satisfied and didn't like what they were doing. We said, let's figure it out. You've still got a job until we help you figure out something else. And the individual I'm thinking about is going on to do something very different. He's a guy out in the field, and that was what he wanted to do. So we helped him do that.
Let me see what my next question is. How did you approach leading your team and creating a strong company culture?
You know, that's not something that I feel I was trained to do. There are people who have a mindset to look for people's strengths and try to put their strengths out there in the team to benefit it. And if people have weaknesses, which we all do, you find somebody else who has the strength in that area to be able to work it out so that you're getting everything done. We have some unique positions in our company based on people's strengths and skills. You have a job that needs to be done, but we try to figure out who has the ability in what area, and so we modify certain tasks and jobs around the abilities of the people in that department.
Now, can that always be shifted from time to time, or is it always kind of
constant change? Business is constant change. I am always looking forward. Some say that I have a visionary approach. I don't see how in business you don't have a visionary approach where you're looking 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I got a 20-year plan. Now, will that 20-year plan come to fruition exactly how my mind thinks of it right now? Of course not. There are external factors and variables that I can't control, but based on my current knowledge, I have an idea of where we're headed and what we're going to do. But we have to adapt, and we have to be able to move forward with whatever comes our way. Whoever thought we were going to go through a pandemic? I never thought something like that would happen in my lifetime. That was dramatic to the world. It was dramatic to individuals. It was dramatic to businesses to close down during a period of time when you just can't imagine. How do you survive that? What things do you learn from that? I can tell you that certainly our country has not recovered from the pandemic. There are young people that missed a year of socializing skills in school, some of them 2 years. I teach a class at the University of Maryland. I taught during the pandemic. I had to be in a classroom designed for 150 people with each student at its own table located 10 feet from anybody else with masks on. But I felt it was important to teach in person, and I got permission to do that. Most people were learning on Zoom. It's a different connection when you're seeing somebody on a screen versus in person. So we adapt. How did we adapt during the pandemic? We figured the things that we could control, and we made the best decisions with the resources we had available.
Now, how do you feel that impacted you and also the company? Meaning, how you carry your day-to-day and improvements, like.
That impacted us for a period of time. I don't think that there's much difference now than what it was, but I see a lot of businesses that have been dramatically impacted. There's more remote work right now, which can work in certain circumstances, but I think collaborating with your co-workers is important. I think being in person with people is important, but hey, if remote work is what is allowed, I see why people want to be able to do it. And in some quantitative jobs where I can determine your output of work, maybe it works, but in many I don't see it particularly successful. We do a lot of things with the government. I think the government certainly has not recovered from it. There has been a move back to working in the office, but when in the past, prior to the pandemic, we would get an answer on something within a day, and now they thought it was reasonable to say, well, that'll take us about a week, because we have to circle around and get all the people involved. Why? Because you're all working from different locations all over the country. Is that efficient? Of course it's not. In a business world, you'd say no. So I don't think there has been a recovery from the pandemic in certain places, and it's been acceptable. Changes were made. You can't go to the MVA right now and conduct business. You have to make an appointment. Well, that's more efficient for them, but it's certainly not customer oriented. But that came as a residual. We've accepted time constraints on us to get things done post-pandemic because it's more convenient. You go to a hotel, not all hotels clean every day. That used to be an absolute rule of a hotel. Every day you got service to redo your room. Well, they learned during the pandemic, for safety reasons, they would only do it on occasion. So some of those customer service or customer things that we took for granted prior to, businesses have found are more advantageous to them, so they didn't go back. It's just the way it is.
And part of it maybe is that it's more efficient, but it's also more or less they don't have to do what they traditionally had to do before.
So there's a difference between doing what's right and what you should do and what someone's paying for and getting away with what you can. So I think sometimes, especially big businesses, try to determine what can we get away with and still keep the customer. That's not our situation here. We try to do everything we can for the customer. If they leave, it's because of another reason, not because we're not putting the effort in. It's not because I know that guy's going to buy from us no matter what. No, we're going to give them the top level of service we can, regardless of our knowledge that they're pretty committed to our product. That's just responsible. That's being a responsible person. You got to start out with integrity before you get into business, and that's kind of the way we look at it.
And now, so sometimes if, let's say, a loyal customer that's been with the company decides that either, whatever it is, the service isn't there, or whatever aspect that they see as a flaw or not what they really want isn't there, and they decide to go onto a competitor or whoever it is, meaning they're not saying that the company's bad as a whole, but maybe they're saying that this company offers me it can fit more of my portfolio and what I really need, and they've fully understood exactly how it helps them.
So the things happen in business, and the grass is always greener. You've heard the experiment. So somebody sees and they get frustrated because their bus is late. And someone comes along and says, well, I can get you a bus faster than that. One of our competitors is famous for making delivery commitments that they don't meet. But because the time frame now to get a bus is almost a year, if they go ahead and give you a commitment in 7 months and you get into month 6 and it's like, oh, well, it's going to be delayed, they're at the same point that we would have been when it actually comes. But the person can't start over, because if they were to change at that point in time, they'd have to wait another year from someone else. So those things happen. We don't make a big deal out of it. The ones that have occasionally left us, I would say the majority of them come back to us and realize that what it was that we were offering, some of which they took for granted, they just figured everybody did it. We have a vehicle, we have a service truck on the road to go out and help with warranty and diagnostics. I mean, we try to get vehicles going if there is a down vehicle for whatever reason as quickly as we can.
Now my next question is, what is your approach to customer service, and how do you maintain strong client relationships?
I think I already touched on that.
Okay.
The customer's needs and need to always be our focus. So recognizing that we have limitations, we can't just have all the resources thrown at something. But when there's an issue, when you look at customer satisfaction, there's a spectrum, and you've got a dissatisfied customer on one side, and then you've got a super satisfied customer on the other side. And it's really when an issue happens and you exceed their expectations that you develop a very loyal customer, because they see that you step up to what you claim. There are all kinds of claims out there in the marketplace, and I can tell you right now, I'll poke at all of them when I hear this, and I'm like, they're not going to do that, they're not going to do that, but they can make the claim. Well, on the front end, everyone's skeptical. But if you think about the businesses that you're most loyal to, very often there was an issue or something, and it was taken care of beyond your expectation in a way that was less painful than it could have been. And you say, wow, I know that they'll step up when there's a problem. And our reputation is for doing that. Our reputation out in the marketplace is pretty well known that when there's an issue, we're going to get it fixed.
Now, how is that differentiated you between you and your competitors? Meaning,
we don't concentrate on our competitors too much. We talk about the resources that we bring to the table, and it's for the customer to determine what else is out there. We know what the other competitors are doing. We know what we're doing. We know where our strengths are, and our strengths are very customer oriented. It's for the customer to make the determination, but we're going to point out the advantages that we believe we bring to the table and allow the customer to determine if everybody's bringing that to the table.
Let me see what my next question is. Can you share a story or a moment where you realized the company was truly making an impact?
Well, we're in the school. The majority of our business is school bus transportation. We also are a transit bus manufacturer, representative, and sprinter vans. But on the school bus side, you know that every day those kids are getting in there, and their parents are putting their confidence in the school system to get their kids to and from safely. That's an everyday responsibility impact. Most of the impact that we have is in helping facilitate a customer's needs so that they can have a good business. More importantly, the individual impact is on the employees in the company. We know we're making a difference in their lives. When issues come up, they and their family come number one. The business will figure out how to deal with someone's absence if they need to go and take care of something. But we make an employee's life most important to us, that we're supporting that.
Now, how do you as a company get impacted, let's say if there's a shortage of bus drivers? Meaning, whether it's getting the bus serviced or...
Shortage of bus drivers is more of an impact on our customers, so we try to figure out how we can help them. Things that impact us are just not being able to get the equipment, get the buses built in a timely manner. And post-pandemic, for whatever reason, manufacturing has gotten and still has not completely stabilized, so that the flow of the components that go into the manufacturing of a new school bus are flowing through like they did pre-pandemic. And there's many factors related to that, some of which I know about and some I don't, but business changed.
How do you see, because I'm sure that when you first started out versus now, how do you see things either evolving or staying the same, if you will? I know that Thomas makes the electric bus and the diesel bus. How do you see it still staying the same, or do you see it more or less one of the two?
It's market driven, and there have been changes in the politics that have changed some of the decision making. We try to bring the product that's going to be able to be most reliable and serviceable and safe to the marketplace, and we're always advancing that. I don't see any current significant changes on the horizon that'll impact us dramatically, but every year there's new things out there, and so the vehicles now have stability control that try to counter any rollover type tendencies. The buses have braking systems now that are radar, like you can get on a car today, to make sure that you don't have collisions. It'll apply the brakes on the bus. So there's technology changes that come.
My next question is, how do you handle tough business moments, big setbacks, market shifts, or tough decisions?
Make them. You analyze what the variables are, what you can control, and you make a decision. I am a person of faith. I told you I'm a part-time pastor. So I have a faith that my abilities go so far, and I'll use them to the best of my ability, and then I go to a higher power to accept what it is that's going to happen. And that gives me strength, it gives me confidence. I try to get input from as many sources as possible when decisions are to be made. This is not really a dictatorship, but I am the ultimate decision maker, but I try to get collaborative input from people. Consensus building is one of the strengths that I have. And then in the end, I ask everyone to just recognize the decision that I've made. Let's give it a try. If it doesn't seem to be working, we'll make a change. I don't stake myself out saying, well, that's what I've decided, and good or bad, we're going to do it. You make a decision depending upon how significant it is to the business, and you monitor it, and you alter it, and you keep doing that on a regular basis.
Now, I'm sure that either you addressed this or you didn't, but how did you decide to go into the transit market for buses?
Just market availability. You're always, again, visionary. What's available out there? What makes sense for our dealership? We've had manufacturers come to us that weren't right for us, and we've not chosen to represent their product. We have a reputation in the market right now, and we have continued to build on it for what we offer. And if a manufacturer isn't going to provide something that we feel is going to be good enough for us, then we're not going to make it available to our customers because we don't think it's good enough for them.
Now, kind of building off that, how do you measure both success personally and professionally?
It's a complex question. Personally, I'm a content individual in doing for others because I believe in service, and I do a lot of things to provide to the community, to the business, to the employees. Personally, as I said, I'm content, always trying to do additional things. At my age and with my resources, I certainly can retire. So I say I'm semi-retired, but right now, this business here is managed day to day by a group of vice presidents who are younger and capable. I'm over here about once a week. I'm in communication when they need me. Otherwise, I don't really get involved in the day-to-day operations. I get involved in the bigger picture of where we're headed and what we're doing. But I have a restaurant sports bar here in Annapolis with a partner who's here and general manages it regularly, but I'm there for the business side of that, working with him, and I visit there at least once a day. When I leave here, that's where I'm headed to go over and touch base with them because I'm not often here on Saturdays. I have the Rock Hall Service Center over in Rock Hall, Maryland. That's more of an automotive service center, and there are fewer employees there, but it's impactful to the community because we're the only service center within a half an hour for car service and truck service. We just opened a brew pub on Main Street in Rock Hall July 1st. I've got a pizza parlor on Main Street there that some people are running and managing. I empower the folks who are in the business to operate and run them, and then I'm the part-time pastor of Rom Chapel United Methodist Church in my free time. I serve on the Economic Development Committee for the town of Rock Hall. I'm in the volunteer fire department, and I've just been put on a commissioner's task force in Kent County, Maryland, to help with some things. So I'm active. I do things. If I can, I do. And I don't wear myself out. I know the limitations. I have downtime. I take downtime. I manage my time very well to make sure that I have me time, but then there's time for me to offer to the community. And my priorities are faith, family, and friends. And I've attained some really nice things, but that's stuff. And I spell stuff S-H-I-T. So if you put stuff in front of faith, family, and friends, I think you have your life messed up. So been very successful by the financial world's view of what success is, but personally mine is more how individually have people been positively impacted by my influence, involvement, or employment with them.
Now, is there either things that you've learned or changes or whatever that have allowed you to not spread yourself too thin, but have also what's the word? Differentiation, meaning where you see that you've become successful versus if somebody else had, kind of what you're saying of putting something over the rest of it, like putting stuff over family or friends.
Certainly I see people valuing stuff more than they value the things that I mentioned. And there's times where I can be a little overwhelmed with my schedule, and I just step back a little bit and put it into focus and figure the priorities and take care of them and work through it. you know, the attainment of stuff that people are trying to do is hollow, because then you want more stuff. So to be able to enjoy some nice things, and I certainly do, but to value them above humanity or above my faith, it just isn't going to happen. But that's what a lot of people do, and I know a lot of genuine people that don't have a lot of things that you can buy with money, and they're as content and they're as good of friends of mine as some of these folks that I see. I'm going to go see a bunch of these folks this afternoon who are, I would say, on the pretentious side of things. They've attained things, and they're more concerned with who's who and who am I seeing with than they are with just getting to know who people are. But I won't get more into that right now. And I chuckle at it, and I don't go to many of these things. I received an award last night from the University of Maryland that they've been trying to give me for over 3 years, because I'm not into going and getting awards. But we were talked into going last night. It was a very nice fair, and my greatest enjoyment was seeing the students that I got to interact with at the University of Maryland. And there were students that were involved in the event. There were students that came and provided some of their talents to the event, and that was really fulfilling, knowing that they're at the beginning of whatever their careers are going to be, and hopefully they keep an open mind, because I can tell you, if you are closed-minded about the future and what you might do, you might miss an opportunity, or you might turn up an opportunity, or turn down an opportunity that comes at your way. I can tell you, I didn't go to college to be in the bus business. I had no concept of that, and the freshman class I teach are for undecided students, and I tell them, just keep your eyes and ears open, and they're concerned that they haven't made a decision yet. Well, if you make a decision now, you may pass up something that comes along that might be better for you. So,
and to always keep it up, to keep it open and to not say no.
Options open. Yeah.
Now, how do you? Actually, I already guess that. What is your plan to continue being successful in the years ahead? Either both personally or just as a whole.
That question is wrapped up by what I've already shared with you. Always looking out there a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, being aware of what's going on. I don't have a lot of immediate personal needs that need to be fulfilled, but looking for opportunities. If you have experienced life and there's something that I have that you'll never have as much of, you can't buy it, you can't sell it. If you don't have enough of it, it can even kill you. You know what that is?
Time.
Experience. I have experience. That doesn't mean I'm better than anybody. It just means I've probably gone through some more triumphs and failures than you have in your life. And I learn from people who have gone through more than I have. I always tried to, during my career, is learn from people. It doesn't mean I always followed their advice. But there was probably a time in your life, and I would imagine it's come by now, where your parents got a lot smarter than you thought they were. When you're younger, you think you know more than your parents sometimes. And then at some point in time, you realize, boy, my parents really do know some stuff. It's just human nature. It's the same way in careers. There are people out there that have been through more than we have been through, and so you listen to them, and don't make their same mistakes, and try to take their triumphs and fit them into your plan so that it works for you as well.
Now, has there been any mentors or anything that have helped you along the way that you've saw that have made either a big difference or?
Mostly life mentors, not necessarily business mentors, but I have had some. Unfortunately, not around anymore. One of them still is, and it's somebody I go to for personal guidance and mentorship that feeds into business, but isn't all about business.
Now, is it helpful to not just have one person that's just solely fixed on business, meaning like what you just said,
of having a right and wrong. You know, people come along as gems. They're not something that you can go and find. Have you ever looked for a 4-leaf clover?
If I have, it's very hard to.
Very hard to do. So when someone comes along, you just don't have 4-leaf clovers all around you necessarily. And so when you find someone that you can learn from, that's willing to take the time and effort to listen and figure out what you're trying to do and give you guidance, and that's as simple as a family member or somebody that has taught you or somebody who's coached you or somebody that you work with.
Now, what is something that motivates you to keep going on the hard days?
In the hard days, commitment. You know, if I make a commitment, it's a commitment. So, you know, sometimes you just have to go through because you said you were going to do it, even when you didn't want to do it. You know, don't give up when it gets tough. You know, that's the easy way to go. You made a commitment, then work your way through it and figure it out.
And is some of it accountability as well, or is it just kind of?
It's all accountability. I mean, you have to be accountable to yourself, and you have to be accountable to the commitments you make, and you have to be accountable really to the end goal that you've set.
And so part of it, I would imagine, is you're accountable to the customers and kind of what you're delivering.
Of course. Well, if you're not accountable to the customers, you won't have any. So again, putting them first and making sure that you fulfill their needs to the level of satisfaction that you know you've put out there beyond what they are expecting. And that's really when you exceed a customer's expectation, you make a very loyal relationship between the two of you. And you know, it's hard to hold customers accountable sometimes, but sometimes you have to do it because they're not always correct in how things get put, and I don't let anybody take advantage of. I look at our relationship with the customer and manufacturer as a triangle, where each, the dealership, ourselves, the manufacturer, and the customer are points of the triangle. We have more control over that geometric shape than either the customer or the manufacturer. It's our responsibility to make sure that geometric shape stays equal. So the customer's getting out of the equation what they need, the manufacturers, and we are as well. So I don't always ask for whatever we can get. Don't always go for whatever you can get. You need to do what's fair and reasonable, so when it's laid out, people have been treated fairly.
That way everything's kind of equal and it's not a...
I'm going to have to wrap up pretty quick.
Okay.
We're coming up to 11.
All right. Yeah, since we have to wrap up, I have like 3 more questions. If you so, do you watch Diary of a CEO at all, or if you're familiar with it? So, our previous guest said if you could buy a billboard that the entire world could see, what would you put on it?
Me personally,
Mm-hmm.
faith, family, friends. The rest is stuff.
And then,
I mean, that's the focus that anybody, I believe, will be successful if they focus on the right things.
going off of that, if you could ask the next guest one question and you don't know who the person is, what would that question be?
On what topic?
Whatever, just as
What are your life goals?
Okay. Are there 2 to 3 people you know that would be very good guests for this podcast?
I'll think about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Steve, thank you very much for joining me today on the Young Entrepreneurs Podcast. I really enjoyed learning your story and hearing your advice. For our listeners, if you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Share this video with a friend and leave a review. It really helps us grow. And this has been episode number 16. Until next time, we'll see you next time.
All right.
So, thank you.
Okay.